Biden Incorporated, Biden Inc. has been exposed. A cloud of corruption darkens above Joe 30330, his shady family business dealings, and we have big bombshell news that the media mob doesn't want you to know about. Now, to any American with a functioning brain, it could not be any more obvious what's going on here. That is that this family profited off his diplomacy in Ukraine and in China. And even as the media mob is doing everything in their power to try and cover for them and suspend any fidelity to truth, well, now we have outlined on this show night after night Joe, his son's shady dealings in Ukraine, where sleepy, creepy, crazy Uncle Joe leveraged your tax dollars to get a prosecutor fired. Now, why would any vice president of the United States ever involve himself in such a thing? But as bad as Joe's bragging on tape is, that was just mere millions, that's all. But the bigger, the much brighter spotlight now shines on the communist Chinese, where Hunter Biden received a sweetheart billion-dollar, later $1.5 billion deal just days after traveling with his father on Air Force Two. Now, these are the facts as we have now known them. We rewind. We go back to December 2013. Hunter Biden, he joined his father on Air Force Two on a trip to China, where his father had a meeting with the Chinese president. Then in December 2013, literally less than 2 weeks later, Hunter Biden's company inked a $1 billion private equity deal with a subsidiary of the Chinese government's Bank of China. And as Peter Schweitzer outlined and pointed out in Secret Empires, the #1 bestseller, this was a deal unlike any other Western firm got. And it went to Hunter Biden, who, far as we can tell, had zero expertise in China or private equity. Now, Schweitzer explains, quote, in short, the Chinese government was literally funding a business that is co-owned along with the sons of two of America's most powerful decision makers. Remember, the Bank of China, that's not your average bank. That's not like Chase, Citibank. No, it is a powerful tool controlled by the communist Chinese, by Beijing. They have the ability to wield tremendous political power. Hunter Biden and others cashed in despite seemingly having no qualifications, no experience. Now, ABC apparently interviewed Hunter Biden. We will find out more tomorrow. It should be interesting to hear what he has to say. Let's see how he deals with questions, hopefully, that he gets about having no experience and flying over to China in Air Force Two, and 10 days later, basically saying, yeah, the Chinese bank and the Bank of China, they picked me over, let's say, Bain Capital, Goldman Sachs, Deutsche Bank, you know, the real pros at this, because it looks like panic may be setting in. Now, if you're putting the Bidens in all-out damage control at this hour because Hunter is now finally breaking his silence, I'd kind of bet any amount of money that there's probably been a lot of preparation going on behind the scenes. I'm just guessing. Years of experience in this business, 31 of them, tells me that probably happened. We'll find out about that, too, in time. In addition to sitting down for an interview with ABC News, he also announced, wow, his resignation from a Chinese-backed private equity company, saying through his lawyer that if his father becomes president, well, he won't serve on any foreign boards at all. It's a little bit late because he was doing it when his father was vice president in countries that he was going to and working on behalf of this country for. But it doesn't answer any of the fundamental questions, does it? Now, is ABC, are they going to ask some of the basic fundamental questions or give him a softball interview? I don't know. Will they ask the specifics of Biden's work in Ukraine and China? Will they ask specifically what he did for all this money? What were his actual day-to-day job duties? Will they ask what qualifications he had? Will they ask if his status as the son of America's second most powerful decision maker was a factor in this sweetheart deal? Why not pick, let's see, Bain Capital, Goldman Sachs, Deutsche Bank, or any of the other big firms with tons of experience? Now let's also play our little game. Let's replace the name VP Joe Biden with VP Donald Trump, even though the president would not like that demotion. And we'll replace the name Hunter with the name Don Jr. What do you think would happen, especially with the media mob? What if Don Jr. were taking millions of dollars from one country, shady oil deals, no experience in the country or that industry at all, and then billions, $1.5 billion to be exact, from the Bank of China, after flying with his father, who was vice president on Air Force Two, and Don Jr. had zero experience with either country. And by the way, zero experience in any of the businesses that are paying him. Do you actually think the mob and the media, they'd be saying this is a conspiracy theory or a hoax? Or do you think that their endless, breathless hysteria and reporting would go on for months and months on end? Because also developing tonight, the Democrats' politically motivated, unconstitutional impeachment charade is unraveling before their eyes. And even Adam, the cowardly Shifty Schiff, he is backtracking tonight, making the major admission that maybe the whistleblower, who apparently his team coordinated with, well, doesn't have to testify at all. And that he should have been more clear about his secret contact and his office's contact with the whistleblower in the first place. Gee, replace Schiff with the name Trump, and I wonder if the media would accept this crap. Take a look.
We were interested in having the whistleblower come forward. Our primary,
not anymore.
Well, our primary interest right now is making sure that that person is protected. Indeed, now there's more than one whistleblower that they are protected. And given that we already have the call record, we don't need the whistleblower who wasn't on the call to tell us what took place during the call. We have the best evidence of that. It may not be necessary to take steps that might reveal the whistleblower's identity to do that, and we're going to make sure we protect that whistleblower.
I doubt the media would give Trump a pass with that flimsy answer. By the way, the president just weighed in, tweeting, quote, Shifty Schiff now seems to think they don't need the whistleblower who started the whole scam. Yeah, because they're going to find out about the relationship with, let's see, Shifty's office, and they're going to have to deal with the fact that we don't need any whistleblower, non-whistleblower anyway. Yeah, because they actually have the transcript. And maybe it's time for Republicans in the Senate and the House. Maybe they need to go on record with the very simple statement that that transcript does not in any way rise to any level of impeachable offense. Let's get that on the table so that they can know ahead of time that this witch hunt is not going to go on for 3 years like their last witch hunt went on. And by the way, the real reason the whistleblower, non-whistleblower has lost all credibility, because the story is so far from the facts of the actual transcript. We don't need the interpretation of somebody that got the information vis-a-vis hearsay. You're starting to notice a theme: corruption, hypocrisy, lies, deceit in the Democratic Party and their allies in the media mob. Every accusation they make, every attack, every smear, every allegation is nothing more than projection. Remember, Schiff said, we've not spoken directly to the whistleblower, when in fact his office did in fact have direct contact with the individual before he ever filed a complaint. Apparently he was advised by that team to get a lawyer, file a complaint with the Inspector General. In other words, that would be an organized political hit job from the get-go. And according to the Washington Examiner tonight, we're now learning the fake whistleblower has, quote, professional ties to Joe Biden. Shocker. And it's Democrats. They're the ones guilty of real collusion, corruption with Ukraine. They're the ones guilty of conspiracy, just like Schiff is the only one that I know on tape thinking he's speaking to a Russian, digging up dirt on Donald Trump, and, of course, compromising materials and naked Trump and all that. And Vladimir, of course, Vladimir knows. The other ones, and it's them, too, leveraging U.S. tax dollars in a quid pro quo, an obvious shakedown with our money to fire, let's see, a prosecutor in Ukraine, and literally working in Ukraine, according to Politico, January 11, 2017, he had the Ukrainians, they worked on Hillary's behalf for that election, and they screwed up. They picked the wrong horse. They're the ones that weaponized intelligence to spy on the Trump campaign. They're the ones that used Russian lies to influence the 2016 election and then to spy on a candidate and a transition team and then later a president. And by the way, that's them. Here with reaction to all this, Fox News contributor, investigative reporter Sarah Carter. All right, you look at this all, it's now like boomerangs everywhere. It all comes back to them. But it's true, if you replace the name Trump with Biden, I think we get a very different reaction from the corrupt media.
Well, they would be dragged through the mud the way they're already being dragged through the mud on false stories, Sean. All you have to do is see how the evidence is pouring out against them. The boomerang, as you say, it wasn't only that the whistleblower story just didn't add up. Adam Schiff and the whistleblower himself did not inform the intelligence community's Inspector General, Michael Atkinson, that they had communicated, that he basically was in communication with Adam Schiff's committee on this and had requested help from the committee before submitting the complaint. And now we find out that, of course, whoa, lo and behold, the whistleblower worked for Joe Biden in the past. And that they did admit to the Inspector General, that they did work for a prominent Democrat. They did know that. So what we're seeing here is a continuous cover-up. This is the reason why Adam Schiff doesn't want the whistleblower actually to come forward. He wants to push this aside now. We know there was no quid pro quo. There was absolutely no quid pro quo because we know now from President Zelensky of Ukraine that he had no idea that any military aid was being withheld prior to speaking with President Trump and even after. He just had no idea. And if you just look at the transcript on its face, which was eventually released by the president, you can see that for yourself. So now, of course, Schiff on Face the Nation is trying to find a way to cover up for this. But remember this, and this is something that I've been talking to sources on Capitol Hill about. Schiff is continuing to push over and over again for some type of impeachment. And this is moving forward as an impeachment investigation. I just don't think the American people are going to buy these lies anymore.
I will tell you, if they do, we will lose this great republic. Rumor,
right.
Question to Ben Franklin, how apropos, a monarchy or a republic? Republic, if you can keep it. Let's see if we can keep this one.